Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the special town meeting of July 6, 2022. I'm Eugene Cushman. I'm the town meeting moderator. Ken, if you'd like to lead us in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Assistant Town Clerk, if you could read the call.
Notice is hereby given of a special town meeting of the Town of East Lyme to be held on Wednesday, July 6, 2022 at 7 o'clock p.m. at the East Lyme Town Hall Upper Meeting Room for the following purposes. 1. To receive communications from the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance with respect to a resolution entitled Resolution Making an Appropriation in the amount of $850,000 for the rehabilitation of and improvements to various town roads, town parking lots and sidewalks, and authorizing the issuance of $850,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. 2. To consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution Making an Appropriation in the amount of $850,000 for the rehabilitation of and improvements to various town roads, town parking lots, and sidewalks, and authorizing the issuance of $850,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. 3. To receive communications from the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance with respect to a resolution entitled Resolution Making Appropriations aggregating $1,180,000 for various Board of Education capital improvements and authorizing the issuance of $1,180,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriations and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. 4. To consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution Making Appropriations aggregating $1,180,000 for various Board of Education capital improvements and authorizing the issuance of $1,180,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriations and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purposes. 5. To consider and act upon a special appropriation in the amount of $15,940 to account number 017072524006 NSEP equipment to cover the cost of purchasing the below listed equipment for the new EOC and grant allocation 2022-98. EOC communications, room furniture and dividers, $3,400. EOC kitchen appliances, $3,300. EOC wall map, EAS display system, $2,500. EOC multifunction wireless printer, scanner, copier, $800. Communication speakers, $5,940. Total $15,940. 6. To consider and act upon a special appropriation for the following projects in CNRE Fund 32, which are consistent with the 2022-23 Capital Improvement Plan. Town projects roofs, $10,300. Excuse me. HVAC replacement townwide, $15,500. East Lyme Waterford boat motor, $8,500. Town projects various, $25,000. Townwide servers, $5,000. Reevaluation, $45,000. AED defibrillators, $2,000. CAD software and survey equipment, $4,000, totaling $15,300. 7. To consider and act upon a special appropriation in the amount of $165,000 to be used as follows: $30,000 townwide garage door repairs replacement, $30,000 public safety buildings repairs and improvements, $85,000 lift jacks for highway maintenance garage, and $20,000 rebuild plant stam study, with the source of funds being the LoCIP program and accounts to be established titled with the state project number. These projects are consistent with the 2022-23 Capital Improvement Plan. 8. To consider and act upon a resolution entitled A Resolution of the Town of East Lyme, Connecticut, authorizing the execution and delivery of an equipment lease purchase agreement and schedules thereto for the acquisition, purchase, financing, and leasing of certain equipment. We waive reading the resolution in its entirety as it has been on file with the town clerk. 9. To transact any other business proper to come before the meeting. Copies of the proposed bond resolutions are on file and open to public inspection at the office of the town clerk. This this has been advertised in the day paper, again, recorded in the clerk's office and posted on the signpost.
Thank you, Madam Assistant Town Clerk. Well done tonight.
Thank you.
The ground rules for a special town meeting are that if you, in order to vote on this meeting, you have to be an elector of the town, 18 years of age, and a U.S. citizen, and own taxable property on the grand list of 10-121 in the amount of $1,000 or more. Under Connecticut General Statute, if you vote at this meeting but you're not eligible to vote, you may be subject to a fine, imprisonment, or disenfranchisement, or all of the above. I don't know if we're going to need tellers and checkers, but I appoint Wendy if we do. If you wish to speak at this meeting, please come to the podium and give your name and address for the record. Do not conduct a dialogue amongst yourselves and address any questions through the moderator, please. You may approve an expenditure, you may disapprove an expenditure, you may reduce an expenditure, but you may not increase an expenditure. We have a long list on the agenda, so we'll take them in order, with the exception of item 1 and 3. Madam Assistant Town Clerk, please note for the record that we have received those communications. So the first item that will require any action is item number 2, to consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution Making an Appropriation in the amount of $850,000 for the rehabilitation and improvements to various town roads, town parking lots, and sidewalks, and authorizing the issuance of $850,000 bond of the town to meet said appropriations, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purposes. Do I hear a resolution?
So moved.
Ms. Santoro, is there a second? Mr. Cunningham. Is there any discussion? Mr. First Selectman.
Kevin Surrey, First Selectman, 25 Quailcrest Road, East Lyme. Gene, that's the only time I'll say it tonight.
First time.
First time. This is money that has already been approved in the town budget when it was adopted, and then since then has also been approved by the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance, now coming forward for approval at the town meeting. And as it says in here, this is $850,000. We do this every year, and it's for the rehabilitation improvements of various roads, some parking lots, sidewalks, and authorizing the issuance of those bonds. If there's any questions or you want to know exactly the areas being done, Mr. Bergraw's here, plus he does have a chart down in his office that tells you what roads and so forth are being going to be worked on with this money and so forth like that. That's all I have to add. And
Thank you, Mr. First Selectman. Would anyone else like to be heard? Seeing no hands, then we'll move the question. All those in favor of considering and acting upon a resolution entitled Resolution Making an Appropriation in the amount of $850,000 for the rehabilitation of and improvements to various town roads, town parking lots, and sidewalks, and authorizing the issuance of an $850,000 bond of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purpose, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed by saying nay. The ayes have it, the resolution carries. The next item on the agenda is to consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution Making Appropriations aggregating $1,180,000 for various boards of education capital improvements, and authorizing the issuance of a $1,180,000 bond of the town for said to meet said appropriations, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purpose. Do I hear a resolution?
So moved.
Ms. Santoro. Is there a second? Mr. Corelli. Would anyone like to be heard? Mr. First Selectman.
this is just very similar to what we just did for the town, but for the Board of Ed. It's, as we said, all the things that have been approved in the budget, and both against, after the budget was approved again by the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance for a second time, and this is for capital improvements for the Board of Ed and the Assistant Superintendent, Annalise Spaziano, and the business manager is here if there's any further information that you would like on what the money is going to be spent for.
Thank you, Mr. First Selectman. Would anyone else like to be heard? Seeing no hands, then we'll move the question. All those in favor to consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution Making Appropriations Aggregating $1,180,000 for the various boards of education capital improvements and authorizing the issuance of a $1,180,000 bond of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purpose, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by saying nay. The ayes have it, the resolution carries. The next item on the agenda is to consider and act upon a special appropriation in the amount of $15,940 to account number 0170-725-224-006 NSEP equipment to cover the cost of purchasing the below listed equipment for the new EOC and grant application 20,022-98. EOC communication room furniture and divider, $3,400. EOC kitchen appliances, $3,300. EOC wall map and EAS display system, $2,500. EOC multifunction wire, plus printer, scanner, and copier, $800. Communication speakers, $5,940. Total $15,940. Is there a resolution?
So moved.
Ms. Santoro, is there a second? Ms. Chicarello? Would anyone like to be heard? Mr. First Selectman?
This is money that's already been approved. This is grant money. This is not coming out of the town budget as far as taxpayer dollars. This is grant money that we had obtained for the new Emergency Operations Center, and it's probably specific in what it's being done for. There was a picture in the New London Day once of our new EOC, so to Julie Wilson, who was very much responsible in helping acquire this funding and getting it to be now a state-of-the-art EOC in the region. Thank you, and I think that covers most of it. And Julie is here if you have any specific questions.
Thank you, Mr. First Selectman. Would anyone else like to be heard? Okay, in that case, we'll move the question to consider and act upon a special appropriation in the amount of $15,940 to account number 0170-725-224-006 NSE equipment to cover the cost of purchasing the below listed equipment for the new EOC and grant allocation 2022-98. EOC communication room furniture and divider, $3,400. EOC kitchen appliances, $3,300. EOC wall map and EAS display system, $2,500. EOC multifunctional wireless printer, scanner and copier, $800. Communications speakers, $5,920, totaling $15,940. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by saying nay. The ayes have it. The resolution carries. The next item on the agenda is to consider and act upon a special appropriation for the following projects: CNRE Fund 32, which are consistent with the 2022-2023 capital improvement plan. CNRE municipal projects. Town projects, roofs, $10,300. HVAC replacement townwide, $15,500. East Lyme Waterford boat motor, $8,500. Town projects various, $25,000. Townwide servers, $5,000. Reevaluation, $45,000. AED defibrillators, $2,000. CAD software and survey equipment, $4,000, totaling $115,300. Do I hear a resolution?
So moved.
Ms. Santoro, is there a second? Ms. Chicarello. Is there any discussion? Mr. First Selectman.
Really quick, too, this is money that's being placed in basically savings account for town projects, for roofs. We put $10,300 there, so we sort of build up funds as time goes on. So when we need to replace one, we have as much in that account as possible. If you go down to, you see $45,000 for reval. When we do the full-blown reval every 5 years, it's a couple $100,000. This way, it's not the one-time hit of $200,000. It slowly builds the fund to where it's as minimum of an impact on the budget as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. First Selectman. Would anyone else like to be heard? Seeing no hands, we move the question. All in favor of considering an act upon the special appropriation for the following projects: CNRE Fund 32, which are consistent with the 2022-23 capital improvement plan. Town projects, roofs, $10,300, HVAC replacement townwide, $15,500, East Lyme Waterford boat motor, $8,500, town projects various, $25,000, townwide servers, $5,000, reevaluation, $45,000, AED defibrillators, $2,000, CAD software and survey equipment, $4,000, total of $115,300. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by saying nay. The ayes have it, the resolution carries. The next item on the agenda is to consider and act upon a special appropriation in the amount of $165,000 to be used as follows. $30,000 townwide garage door repair replacement, $30,000 public safety building repairs and improvements, $85,000 lift jacks for highway maintenance garage, and $20,000 to rebuild plant stamp study, and the source of the funds being the LoSEP program and accounts to be established titled with the state project number. These projects are consistent with the 2020-2023 capital improvement plan. Is there a resolution?
So.
Ms. Harding. Is there a second? Mr. Carrillo. Would anyone like to be heard? Mr. First Selectman.
Again, quickly, this is just money that's being used. LoSIP funds are funds that we get through the state, again, not really coming directly from the budget. And these are needed projects at the Public Works Garage for the garage door replacement, and that's also as well as the fire department as well. We want to be sure, especially the fire department, if they hit open for the garage door, it goes up. Public safety buildings, lift jacks, the ones at the public safety building are old, and they do carry an extremely heavy lift load when they lift some of the dump trucks and that, so those are in need of repair. And the plant stamp study, the $20,000 is not to rebuild the dam. It'll be far more expensive than this is just a study. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would anyone else like to be heard? Seeing no hands, then I'll move the question to consider and act upon a special appropriation in the amount of $165,000 to be used as follows. $30,000 townwide garage door repairs replacement, $30,000 public safety buildings repair and improvements, $85,000 lift jacks for highway maintenance garage, $20,000 to rebuild plant stamp study for with the sources of funding being the LoSEP program and accounts to be established titled with a state project number. These projects are consistent with the 2022-2023 capital improvement plan. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by saying nay. The resolution carries. The next item on the agenda is to consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution of the Town of East Lyme, Connecticut, authorizing execution and delivery of the equipment lease purchase agreement and schedules thereto for the acquisition, purchase, financing, and leasing of certain equipment. And we are waiving the resolution be read in its entirety because it's on file in the town office. Is there a resolution?
So moved.
You must be up. Ms. Santoro. Mr. Carrillo, second. Mr. First Selectman.
Okay. Finally, this last one. Basically, the town purchases vehicles with a lease acquisition. So rather than purchasing a vehicle for $50,000 after charging it all, we do it over a lease. So over periods of usually about 5 years, we buy a vehicle and it stays in use long beyond the time it takes us to pay it off. And this allows us to buy more vehicles and replenish the fleet on a regular basis, so we don't get stuck having to buy a lot of vehicles all at once. It's been in place for several years now, and it seems to work very well.
Would anyone else like to be heard? Seeing no hands, I move the question to consider and act upon a resolution entitled A Resolution of the Town of East Lyme, Connecticut, authorizing the execution and delivery of an equipment lease purchase agreement and schedules thereto for the acquisition, purchase, financing, and leasing of certain equipment, and we waive the reading of the resolution. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by saying nay. The resolution carries. And I will point out to the meeting that we had 2 bonds. In the past, we had to read the entire bonds at the meeting. Town council would come and spend a half an hour reading the bonds. So we now waive that reading. Now, there being no other items on the agenda, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. First Selectman? Second, Dan? Okay, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by saying nay. Meeting adjourned.
It'll take a few minutes.